Today I'm at the National Portrait Gallery where I'm going to have a look at Francis Bacon's work, Human Presence. Starting with this one piece, this is really spectacular because it almost feels like it's got a bit of blood and a bit of atoms etc. making this one up. This really captivates me and it just shows me how he played with texture. And speaking of texture, I love this quote by Francis Bacon. I would like my pictures to look as if a human had passed between them, like a snail leaving a trail of human presence and memory trace of past events as the snail leaves its slime. We've seen a lot of this movement of the slime, what we just get in the snail, broken bits, what I call texture before. I'm really enjoying seeing these. Also, this scream, this primal scream, being locked in a box, and then realising this particular one is done of a Pope. It does make me wonder what his fascination was with the Pope, but he did do in many pictures. This was Bacon here, and I quite like the idea of just having that kind of Hitchcock style film with these screams around you. A lot of these look like Businessmen. For me it felt like constraint, it felt like restriction, screaming internally, maybe being trapped in the office. This was quite special because this particular piece was done of the First Lady that sat for Bacon, so I particularly felt fond of this, and they had quite an androgynous look actually, I feel. And looking at this and this breakdown and then reading about this person who posed Lisa, I was very fascinated with. Again, I'm getting a lot of feel of 1930s businessmen. This particular one was of a businessman in the 1930s, so maybe it did transpire into other pictures as well, but this particular character sat for 9 settings over his lunch break. And then you go to this one with a haunted kind of teeth and the skull coming through that looks like it should be in a film or a horror film, for example. These should be. There's a lot of emotion, but these are also fragility and trauma and anger and repression that comes across in the Businessman. And then you get this, which when it gets so dark, this light finally, where it's in a springtime in South Africa where Bacon went to visit, and it is like somebody lonely and dark and soulful, but sitting in this brighter side. And moving on to brighter side, even though this has got more of a warped setting and it's got that texture again, this man with glasses kind of almost reminds me of Freddie Mercury-esque for some reason. Then you can see these Van Gogh inspired pictures with the man in the straw hat, the yellow straw hat, very signature to Van Gogh, and the kind of swaying motions of the blues and the yellows and those primary colours that have been used in it. There's a lot in this room that was really, you could see that Bacon was inspired by other artists, previous predecessors as well as contemporary people. I like to call this wall the kind of Picasso wall. It does feel like something Pablo could have actually done, but feels still very true to Bacon as well. I like the fact that he was inspired and looked at other work as well as making his own, and this is him in his studio. There's something quite pleasing about this photo, him in a busy studio, it not being perfected, it being a bit of a mess, and him in full concentration. You can see this is his place. This is some of the work that he had clearly inspired. He looking at photography and images around him, and this is him a bit older on. This I feel like is when fame probably got to him more, where he actually is more conscious of his image. As you see, there's a wall later on with lots of different images of Bacon captured, unknown and known, but this is homage to Bacon in many different aspects. My favourite particular one we're going to come across is this particular one where it looks quite haunting. You saw a flash which was a bit too quick, I didn't film it in enough time, apologies, but that was with Lucian Freud. The affair between Lucian Freud and Bacon makes me wonder whether it was a lover or friendship, but there was something that went on that you could feel during some of the pictures and notes and mourning the friendship. This particular character, who is actually captured a lot, is also quite a dark story, and this was definitely a love interest for sure for Bacon, and it's a lot of tragedy behind it, which we're going to see in one of the pictures later going on. This show I did see it pre-Christmas, but I thought I'd show it to you in January, as it is actually quite a dark show, and I thought this would actually, maybe if you have got those January blues, to actually go to this and actually play with those emotions in the gallery. This is one that I feel is probably driven the friendship against Bacon and Freud. This is where Freud was captured on Bacon's body, and he'd done another one which was almost Bacon's face being on Freud's body. That's the reason behind those paintings that made me think, have they had a love affair? And this was his previous lover who actually had committed suicide, and it looked like he went a downward spiral in Paris in a hotel, and this is going back to Freud again. So it does feel like whether Freud was a strong friendship character or the other love affair was happening, or this was vice versa, I don't know, but these are two strong people towards actually Bacon. Bacon is somebody I've known more of a tortured work before in other galleries hanging, but not so much of a portraiture work, and it's really interesting to see these pieces. This was the final piece before he died, and being in the National Portrait Gallery, it does make it feel like Bacon only does actually portraiture, but obviously he doesn't. This was a life mask, not a death mask, a life mask that he done when he was alive in 1985, that was given to the actual gallery, and this is showing Bacon's years 1909 to 92, so he was in his 90s. This was a dark show, a good show, and hopefully you enjoy it if you go and see it.